The day he walked into my office, my hands started shaking before my mind understood why. I heard the sound of his shoes first. Slow steps. Heavy. Confident. The kind of walk that says someone believes the world still owes him respect. I was standing near the window, holding a cheap paper cup of coffee that had already gone cold. Outside, the sky was flat and gray. Cars moved slowly below. Everything felt quiet. Too quiet. I didn't turn around right away. Some part of me already knew. 7 years earlier, I learned what it felt like to disappear in front of a room full of people. I was 16 then. Skinny. Awkward. I wore the same hoodie almost every day because it made me feel invisible. My high school always smelled like old books, cleaning chemicals, and something metallic. That Tuesday was no different. The hallways were loud, lockers slamming, voices echoing. But inside me, everything felt muted. History class was last period. Mr. Harlan's class. I hated that room. The lights were too bright. The chairs were hard plastic. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, like it was reminding us how slow time could move. I sat near the window, 3rd row from the back. I liked that seat because I could look outside and pretend my life was somewhere else. Mr. Harlan walked in late that day. He slammed his book onto the desk, and a small cloud of chalk dust floated up. His jaw was tight. He didn't smile. You could feel his mood settle over the room like fog. He started lecturing right away, talking about how the real world works. He loved saying that. Like we were all stupid for not already knowing. He asked questions. A few confident kids raised their hands. He nodded at them. Encouraged them. Then his eyes landed on me. You, he said. Stand up. My stomach dropped. I stood, my legs trembling. My palms were already sweating. Tell us, he said, tapping the desk. What caused the economic collapse of 1929? I knew the answer. I had studied. I always studied. Late at night, after helping my mom clean houses, after listening to her cry quietly in the kitchen. But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. The room felt huge. My chest felt tight. I'm not sure, I whispered. He smiled. It wasn't kind. Of course you're not, he said. Then he laughed. Short. Sharp. A few kids laughed with him. Then he raised his voice. People like you never succeed, he said. You don't speak up. You don't try. You just sit there and wait for life to happen. The class laughed. Loud. My face burned. My ears rang. I stared at the floor. There was a dark stain near my shoe. I focused on that spot like it could save me. I told myself not to cry. If I cried, it would be over. Sit down, he said, already turning away. He sat. My hands shook under the desk. No one looked at me. Or maybe they did, but I couldn't see it. I felt smaller than I ever had in my life. That sentence stayed with me. People like you never succeed. I heard it when I washed dishes late at night. When I stocked shelves after school. When my mom apologized for things that weren't her fault. When my dad stopped calling. When teachers talked about college like it was guaranteed. Years passed quietly. No big moments. Just survival. Just work. Just silence. And now, 7 years later, standing in my office with my name on the door, I finally turned around. Mr. Harlan stood there. Older. Grayer. Same eyes. And for the first time, he had nothing to say. He stood in the doorway of my office like time had punched him in the chest. For a second, I thought maybe he didn't recognize me. 7 years is a long time. I was taller now. Broader shoulders. Better clothes. My hair was cut clean. No hoodie. No backpack. No fear on my face. At least not on the surface. But then his eyes narrowed. He looked at the name on the glass door. Daniel Carter. Operations manager. I saw the moment it hit him. His mouth opened slightly, then closed. His face went pale, then red. The confidence drained out of his body like someone pulled a plug. Daniel, he said. His voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Yes, I said. My voice surprised me. Calm. Steady. Can I help you? He cleared his throat. I'm here about the district partnership. I was told to speak with the manager. That's me, I said. There was a long pause. The air between us felt thick. Heavy. The office smelled like coffee and printer ink. Outside, someone laughed down the hall. Normal life kept going while something cracked open inside that room. I didn't realize, he said finally. I nodded. Most people don't. I offered him a seat. He hesitated, then sat down slowly, like his knees weren't sure they could handle it. I stayed standing for a moment longer, just watching him. Part of me wanted to enjoy it. Another part felt sick. Because this wasn't just about him. It never was. After high school, my life didn't suddenly get better. There was no movie moment. No big win. Just long days and longer nights. My mom got sick the year after I graduated. Nothing dramatic at first. Just tired all the time. Then pain. Then doctors who talked too fast. I took a second job. Then a third. I learned how to smile while being exhausted. I learned how to be invisible again, but this time on purpose. I worked at the print shop during the day. At night, I cleaned offices downtown. The floors smelled like chemicals. The buildings were empty and echoing. Sometimes I talked to myself just to hear a voice. I thought about quitting 100 times. Every time I heard his voice. People like you never succeed. It made me angry. Quietly angry. The kind of anger that doesn't shout but refuses to die. One night, while mopping the floor of a small office building, I saw a flyer taped to a door. Internship program. Logistics company. No experience required. Training provided. I almost laughed. Then I took the flyer home. The interview was awkward. I didn't know how to talk about myself. My hands shook. But I listened. I always listened. The manager noticed. You pay attention, she said. That matters. I got the position. The first year was brutal. Everyone else seemed faster, smarter, louder. I stayed late. I asked questions. I made mistakes and fixed them quietly. I watched how things worked. Who actually did the work? Who just took credit? Years passed. Titles changed. My paycheck grew slowly. My mom got better. We moved into a smaller, cleaner apartment. She smiled more. That mattered more than anything. Back in my office, Mr. Harlan shifted in his chair. You've done well for yourself, he said. I met his eyes. I worked. He nodded too quickly. Of course. I always believed you had potential. That lie landed hard. I felt something twist in my chest. Not rage. Not sadness. Something colder. You humiliated me, I said quietly. He blinked. I what? In front of the class, I said. You said people like me never succeed. Silence. His hands tightened on the armrests. I don't remember saying that. I smiled. Not a happy smile. Ido. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. The silence after I said it felt endless. Mr. Harlan leaned back slightly, like distance might protect him. His eyes moved around my office, not looking at me. At the framed certificates. The bookshelf. The clean desk. The proof. I was a teacher for over 30 years, he said slowly. I said a lot of things. Sometimes you have to be tough on kids. Tough, I repeated. Yes, he said, nodding. Motivation. Not everyone responds to kindness. I felt my jaw tighten. My hands were calm, but inside my chest something was pressing hard, like a weight that had been there for years and was finally shifting. I didn't need motivation, I said. I needed respect. He sighed, like I was tiring him. You're clearly successful now, he said. So whatever I said couldn't have hurt you that much. That's when I realized something. He still didn't get it. I sat down across from him. Slowly. The chair made a soft sound against the floor. You didn't just embarrass me, I said. You confirmed what I already feared. He frowned. And what was that? That I didn't matter, I said. That my voice didn't matter. That no matter how hard I tried, someone like you would always decide who I was. His lips pressed together. After that day in class, things changed in ways no one noticed. I stopped raising my hand completely. Not just in his class. In all of them. I stopped asking questions. Stopped applying for things I wanted. I learned how to disappear so well that teachers stopped calling on me at all. At home, things weren't better. My mom did her best, but she was exhausted. My dad was already gone. When I tried to talk, I felt stupid, weak. So I stayed quiet. Silence became my skill. In my first year at the internship, my supervisor once asked if I had any ideas during a meeting. Everyone looked at me. I froze. My heart raced. My mouth went dry. I shook my head. Later, she pulled me aside. "You're smart," she said. "But you hide." Why? I didn't know how to answer. Years of swallowing words don't disappear just because life improves. Back in the office, Mr. Harlan rubbed his forehead. "I'm sorry if you took it the wrong way," he said. There it was. The apology that wasn't one. I let out a slow breath. "You know," I said. "I used to replay that moment in my head every night." He looked up, startled. "I'd imagine standing up to you." I continued, saying something smart, something strong, making everyone stop laughing. "And?" he asked. "And I never could," I said. "So instead, I promised myself something else." He shifted. "What was that?" "That I'd never speak to someone the way you spoke to me." He was quiet then. Really quiet. The rain started outside. Soft at first, then harder. It tapped against the window in uneven rhythms. I watched it slide down the glass. "I didn't come here to humiliate you," I said. "I'm not that person." He nodded quickly. "Of course. Of course." "But," I added, "this partnership you're asking for? It's my decision." That got his attention. He straightened up. "Yes. And I hope we can." "I've reviewed your proposal," I said. "And we won't be moving forward." His face dropped. "May I ask why?" "You didn't listen," I said. "I beg your pardon?" "You came in assuming," I said. "You didn't prepare. You didn't read our requirements. You thought your past position would carry you." He opened his mouth, then closed it. "That's not how the world works anymore," I said. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Not panic. Just the quiet understanding of consequences. "I see," he said softly. I stood and opened the door. He hesitated at the threshold. "Daniel," he said. "For what it's worth, I truly didn't think." "I know," I said. "That's the problem." He nodded once and walked away, his step slower now. I closed the door and leaned against it. My heart was pounding. My hands finally started to shake. But this time it felt different. This time, I was still standing. After he left, I stayed by the door longer than I needed to. The hallway outside my office was quiet again. The echo of his footsteps was already gone, like they had never been there at all. I pressed my forehead lightly against the wood and closed my eyes. My chest felt tight, but not in the old way. This wasn't fear. It was release. Slow. Confusing. I went back to my desk and sat down. My email inbox was full. Meetings on the calendar. Normal things. The world didn't stop just because something important had finally happened inside me. For the rest of the day, I moved on autopilot. I nodded in meetings. I answered questions. I signed papers. But inside my head, memories kept surfacing, uninvited. I saw the classroom again. The sunlight through dusty windows. The sound of laughter that didn't stop fast enough. I remembered how I walked home that day instead of taking the bus, even though it was cold. I needed the extra time to breathe. That night, I called my mom. She answered on the second ring. Une. Her voice still had that softness that made me feel like a kid. "How was work?" she asked. "It was intense," I said. She laughed quietly. "That sounds like you." I told her about him. About the meeting. About what he had said back then. And what I had finally said now. There was a long pause on the line. "I wish I had known," she said finally. "I wish you'd told me." "I know," I said. "I just didn't want to add more to your plate." She sighed. "You always did that." We sat in silence for a moment, connected by nothing but breath and old love. "I'm proud of you," she said. "Not because of your job, but because you didn't stay small." After we hung up, I sat alone in my apartment. The lights were low. Rain streaked down the windows. I thought the moment would feel bigger, louder, like a victory scene in a movie. It didn't. It felt quiet, heavy, honest. Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. I started noticing how often people were spoken over. In meetings, in emails, in small conversations. I saw the same body language I used to have. Shoulders slightly hunched. Eyes down. Words swallowed at the last second. One afternoon, a new hire named Alex was presenting an idea. His voice shook. Someone interrupted him halfway through. "Let him finish," I said. The room went still. Alex looked at me, surprised. He finished his thought. It was a good one. After the meeting, he stopped by my office. "Thanks," he said. "That doesn't happen a lot." I nodded. I know. That's when I realized the confrontation with Mr. Harlan wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of something else. But life doesn't let you heal in a straight line. A month later, I got an email. Subject line follow-up. It was from him. He thanked me for my time. Said he respected my decision. Then near the end, one sentence stood out. "I hope you understand that I never intended to hurt you." I stared at the screen for a long time. Intent. Such a small word. Such an easy shield. I didn't reply. Instead, I went for a walk. The city was loud. Cars honking. People rushing past, wrapped up in their own lives. I thought about how many quiet wounds were moving through those streets unnoticed. That night, I dreamed about the classroom again. But this time, when the laughter started, it faded quickly. The room went quiet. Everyone waited. And I spoke. When I woke up, my heart was racing. But I wasn't scared. Weeks turned into months. Work got harder. Bigger responsibilities. More eyes on me. Sometimes the old doubt crept back in, whispering that I didn't belong. That I was still that kid in the third row. But now, I knew where that voice came from. And I knew it wasn't the truth. One evening, as I locked up the office, I saw my reflection in the glass door. Older. Tired. Steady. I stood a little straighter. Not because I had beaten someone, but because I had finally stopped believing them. The real ending didn't come with applause. It came quietly, the way most true endings do. About 6 months after that meeting, I was staying late at the office again. The building was almost empty. The lights buzzed softly above me. Outside, the city glowed in that tired yellow way it gets after midnight. I liked these hours. No noise. No pretending. I was packing my bag when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. "Daniel." A voice said. Older. Hesitant. I knew immediately. Yes. "This is Mr. Harlan." I closed my eyes for a second. Not out of fear. Just surprise. "I won't take much of your time," he said quickly. "I just wanted to tell you something. Person to person." I leaned against my desk. "Go ahead." There was a pause. I could hear him breathing. "I've been thinking a lot," he said. "About that day. About you. About how many times I might have said things like that." I stayed silent. "I retired last month," he continued. "They had a small ceremony. Former students sent messages. Some thanked me. Some didn't." Another pause. "One letter stood out," he said. It wasn't angry. It was tired. From a woman who said she spent years believing she was stupid because of something I told her. My throat tightened. "I realized something then," he said quietly. "Impact matters more than intent." I let that sink in. "I don't expect forgiveness," he added. "I just didn't want to leave this world without saying I was wrong." The words hung in the air. "Thank you for saying that," I said finally. We didn't talk much longer. When the call ended, I stood there alone, phone still in my hand. I didn't feel victory. I didn't feel anger. I felt light. That night, I walked home instead of driving. The air was cool. The streets were calm. I passed a high school, lights off, windows dark. I stopped for a moment looking at it. I thought about the kid I was. Head down. Hands shaking. Believing silence was safety. I wish I could tell him everything turns out perfect. It doesn't. But it turns out honest. A year later, I was asked to speak at a local youth program. They wanted someone to talk about careers, success, growth. I almost said no. Then I remembered Alex. The meeting. The interruption. I stood in front of a small room. Folding chairs. Nervous faces. Kids trying not to look like they cared. I didn't talk about titles. Or money. I told them about a classroom. A sentence. Laughter. I told them how words stick. How silence can feel like protection, but slowly becomes a cage. I watched their faces change. Some looked away. Some leaned forward. Afterward, a quiet kid waited until everyone left. Hoodie. Backpack. Thanks, he said. I thought it was just me. I smiled. It never is. That's when I understood the real karma wasn't watching my teacher freeze in my office. It was becoming the person I needed when I was 16. I still hear the old voice sometimes. Late at night. When things get hard. But now it's quieter. And mine is louder.